Hello YouTube, Great RJ1 here. Sorry for this lag beginning. Basically, I am recording, and you know that I usually, and if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I usually lag to begin off with in this game when I begin to record. Anyway, you probably knew what this was from the title. It's Asajj Ventress, my concept for her, and this is really not helping me with how slow the game's been right now. I can't help it though, and I cannot really change it until it's running a little, which it is right now. So now we can get into the concept. So she is going to be more of a combo of different heroes. She's a combo basically Dooku, Kylo Ren and Luke. So let's get into it, shall we? Oh, we're still a little laggy, not too laggy though. So her speed would be about the speed of Luke. I don't want her to be as fast as Ahsoka for my Ahsoka concept. I feel like that would be a bit too fast for her. As for Ahsoka in a trooper mode, you're meant to be running one of the star card that will refresh your cards if you get a kill with a normal lightsaber attacks or blaster deflection after 5 seconds after using the spin attack. And you're meant to be using the spin attack to get from enemy to enemy. Basically, you use your spin attack, get a kill, use your spin attack to get to the next enemy, get a kill, use the spin attack to get to the next enemy. Basically being Palpatine's chain lightning, but you're the actual lightning with Ahsoka. But this is not what today's video is about. Today's video is about Ahsoka. So Ventress, sorry for not using Dooku gameplay. I haven't really used Kylo a lot, and really she is pretty similar to Kylo. So to be fair, it's only fitting. Anyway, so her speeds, I already told you about the speed of Luke. Her swing speed would also be about the speed of Luke, so she's pretty average if you're going by Luke. So she's basically Luke in all her speed. So let's get into her stamina values and her health values, shall we? Her health would be about 750, pretty normal for a lightsaber hero to be 750. Now, her health regen would be just above average, being also higher than Ahsoka's. She's not as fast as Ahsoka, so she doesn't need crazy disadvantages like Ahsoka does from my concept of Ahsoka. Which is why she is going to have a higher health regen pool of somewhere between 300 or 350. So she has a rather high regen pool. And that's pretty much and most prequel heroes do have quite high health regen pools. Well, at least Anakin, Obi, Grievous and Dooku do. I'm not too sure about Yoda and Maul. I think they have rather slow health regen pools, low, so they're not as big. Anyway, her health regen delay will be about a second, if not 2 or 3, and the amount of time it would take once it gets broken to regen that amount back will be would probably be another 3 seconds, if not 2 seconds. This is just to balance her out a little bit for how she's going to be playing. So let's get into her abilities after we get into her stamina, shall we? So her stamina, she'd be able to do 10 or 11 or 12 or 13 swings. I'd say about 12, that seems pretty good, before she runs out of stamina. So she can swing 12 times before running out of stamina. She can block 12 blaster bolts and 12 lightsaber attacks. So her stamina is just above 10, and 10's pretty much the average. So he is, so she is so she is just above average on her stamina. Ah, the double hit on the frenzy. You hit 2 enemies at once. Anyway, her left ability, this would be called Force Choke. It does what it says, Force Choke. This would be a slightly less powerful version of Vader's Force Choke. The damage will be halved, so it's not going to be as powerful as Vader's. The recharge time, for it not being as powerful, I'd say probably 10 seconds. I feel like that's reasonable, and do keep in mind, none of my ability cooldowns will ever be longer than 30 seconds, because you have to remember about Hero Showdown, and I think many YouTubers forget that about Hero Showdown. I guess it's not a mode that's many people will probably play, but there are bits often quite popular, and given an ability over 30-second cooldown, because there are some YouTubers who give their abilities for their hero concepts a 1-minute cooldowns, you have to remember about Hero Showdown. And that's the problem I always have with it, so if I was them, I would probably shorten the cooldown. But other than that, I'd probably say it's good. Just want you to clear that out. So the 10-second cooldown. The 10-second cooldowns will usually be about average. 10 to 15 second cooldowns, or 10 and 15 second cooldowns will be the average cooldowns for my abilities, just saying. So her middle ability would be called Sith Apprentice. Now this is basically is Dooku's duelist for Ventress, and it's a bit different than Dooku's because you don't want it to be the exact same. Now this one, it will basically give off the same effects as Dooku's duelist, but it will combo Dooku's duelist with Kylo's frenzy. Now the frenzy will be quite different. Vic, are you okay? You were just slipping through the ground then. Don't know what it is. This game is a little, this game, Battlefront 2, is a bit glitchy, but I'll say a bit. It's quite glitchy, but overall some of the glitches do allow you to explore different parts of the map. You probably know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you probably know what I'm talking about. So basically her middle ability would give off all the effects of Dooku's duelist: increased damage, increased stamina, but she would also get a 50% damage reduction. Now if she activates it while being near an enemy, she will perform Kylo's frenzy, but instead of doing 3 swings, she will be doing 6, and they would all deal 100. They would all deal about 150 damage if any of them land. And while in the frenzy attacking animations, she would get 90% damage reduction. So yeah. Now you can always this would also affect. Now this ability would also increase her lunge. This will change her lunge attacking. Right, I didn't go over her damage output, did I? So she'd be doing about 150 damage from the front and 200 from the back. So you could say pretty average. Able to one-shot all classes but buffed heavies that are infantry from the back, and can one-shot most of the classes that aren't buffed. So she can one-shot 3 out of the 4 classes if they aren't buffed, or if they're not the heavy. So we got that out of the way. Now we can get back to the abilities. Now I don't know what the middle bit on her middle ability. Now this is where it basically changes, you could say. So now she will actually have a different lunge attack on her, and basically this would change to Kylo's lunge attack when he does his frenzy. So you know where he's at a distance and he comes flying at his enemies? This would be her lunge attack, just like what you saw there. Now the frenzy attacking animations can play if you press the melee button. Now this will still perform 6 swings. So yeah. And sorry Kylo, but you're going to have to be used again. Now she will have a block breaking animation. This will be the last frenzy attack, a bit like how it is for Kylo. Now this attack would actually make her perform a flurry of spinning blades. She would basically just spin with her blade and basically spinning her blades at her enemies. This would actually be a block breaker. She'd do it 5 times. So and each of the 5 will hit an enemy. They'll only deal 50 damage, but she cannot get knocked out of the frenzy attacking animations, and she can't really get damaged in them either because of the 90% damage reduction. She still can get damaged, but to be fair, it's going to be very, very minor. So she is already pretty good on that ability. The duration of it will be about 15 seconds. Oh, and the swing speed was also get increased like Dooku's, just the same. So we have all that sorted. Now if you do activate the animation in range of the frenzy lunge, she will always perform that frenzy attack. Now she will perform 5 hits on her enemies on the spin attack, and this will be 50 damage each hit. Basically for heroes and infantry being 50 damage a hit, basically making a deal 250 damage. And how did he pop his shields like that? I don't know if that's actually a feature in the game, because I don't really use the specialist with the shields because I don't have its shields yet. So yeah. Anyway, for Ventress, when it comes to her middle ability, this is probably her best ability. I don't know how you could say it wasn't, but yeah, I'd say it's her best ability. So now we're getting on to a little bit extra on the middle ability. I know I've been spending a lot of time on the middle ability. There's just a lot of features to it. Now just saying, if she performs a spin attack, her frenzy attack will always act like Kylo's. Now we get to the spin attack specialty. When she performs a spin attack, if she kills the enemy in the spinning attack animation, she will carry on onto the next enemy if the animation's not complete yet. Now she will not perform extra spins. She will still perform the regular 5 if she hits the enemy. So say she took 3 swings to kill an enemy hero and then she lunges to the next enemy, she will only do 2 swings to them. So yeah. Now cooldown, I'd probably give this a 20-second cooldown for how powerful it is. So you can't be using this as often as Dooku's like duelist. So it's not as often of a use as Dooku's duelist, but you still get to use it pretty often. Right, now we're on to a third but not final ability, because there is a way she can have a 4th ability, but it's not directly. This will be an ability replacer. This one would be called Night Sister Magic. Now this is another powerful ability of hers. This would basically make her perform a power of magic, of Night Sister Magic onto her enemies. Now, you know when Mother Talzin was like repairing Darth Maul's mines in the Clone Wars series? This is what this would basically be, but instead of repairing the mines, it would basically do the complete opposite. So this would basically set all damage outputs this would basically reset all enemy health regen to 150, and they can't reset. It's going to be permanent unless they get kills, and then once they got kills past that into their normal health recovery, their normal health recovery will return. So this is a rather powerful ability so far, but this was also half the amount. This was also half the damage output, half the stamina recovery. Half their stamina on blocking and attacking, and blocking lightsaber attacks as well as blaster bolt attacks. Double the recharge time of their dashes and abilities. Give her enemies only one dash, and which with a doubled recharge time, along with doubled stamina recovery and health recovery, and a doubled health recovery and stamina recovery delay. So this basically makes her perform a very devastating ability. Now, I don't know why you want to replace this ability, but with a star card, and this would be the first hero star card to perform this, she would be able to change her Night System magic ability with a star card. Now, the Night System magic ability cooldown will be about 15 seconds. I feel like it's deserving of that, and I feel like it shouldn't be any higher. The reason why I say that is because I feel like any higher or lower, it feels a bit unbalanced. Now, I might give it a 30-second cooldown, maybe 25. I feel like 20 seconds, or 15 seconds or 25 are pretty average for it. I'll probably give it a 20-second cooldown actually. So she's a bit like Kylo. She only has one ability that has a short cooldown that isn't 20 seconds. Anyway, the fourth ability and her final ability, which can only be unlocked with a star card, and I won't go over its cooldown because the cooldown will be controlled by your level on the star card, so I can't really go over it, can I? So, this star card, you just came through the wall. This star card would be called Apprentice of Count Dooku. Now, this is another duelist situation, and basically this is more like exposed weakness, but with extra perks. So yeah, that ability will give her 50% damage reduction, along with trying to remember. It will give her 50% damage reduction, increase her stamina, and increase her health regen for the amount of time the ability is active. This will go from 350 to 450, and this will be permanent until the health regen has been broken. So yeah, so she's pretty powerful. Now, to be fair, I don't think, from what I've seen of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka and Ventress aren't really that. I get they are enemies because they are technically Jedi and Sith, but I don't really see them dueling that much. And to be fair, I think Savage or Maul or Dooku or Grievous would be a better option for Ahsoka, but most of those heroes are already in the game. I mean, it does not really matter. Anyway, that's basically it for the abilities and damage output for Ventress. And I can't believe it took me 2 rounds just to complete what I was going to say about her. Her abilities have quite a lot to them, apart from the ability that actually that just as a voice choke. So yeah, these are pretty powerful abilities for such a hero. So she's sort of a bit like Vader, but not really. I told you she's a bit of a mixture between Kylo Ren, Count Dooku and Luke. So I did tell you, so you can't say I didn't tell you, can you? I would have loved it if, well, not loved it, but I would have really hoped that I went salunging to that trooper. Anyway, let's get into her star cards, shall we? So I did already mention one of the star cards, which swaps out her Night Sister magic ability. Now this ability is completely up to you. You don't actually have to put it on. If you think the Night Sister magic ability is much more useful, then you can use that ability and replace that card, and not replace that card, and not replace the ability, and just swap out it, and then just swap it out for a different card. Or you can just, or if you want it, you just put the card on. It's pretty simple. Anyway, the first card would be increasing her health. Now this one would not be as insane as most of the heroes. I might just make it the default, which is usually 100. But I feel like that might be a bit much, since you then have 850 health. So this would basically be Sith Apprentice or something like that. And this would just increase her health. You go from 20 extra health to 30 extra health, 40 extra health, and then 50 extra health, effectively giving her 800 health. Now this is not as insane as a hero like Chewbacca or Anakin or Vader, because those ones put them over 800 health, if not at 800. So that's why it's a bit, this is why it's, I find this more balanced than it, and this also is the lowest health added card as well. Now the next card, this would shorten the recharge time of her Sith Apprentice ability. Now this basically would shorten the ability recharge time. Doesn't actually increase the ability time. And I forgot to mention how long the Night Sister magic wand lasts for. Now that will only last for about 5 seconds, but do keep in mind that the effects of the health regen will be permanent until the hero gets kills and it gets broken out of it. So yeah, until they get over their health regen or onto the health regen bar again, their default on the one that wasn't affected, that on the original one they already had on. This one just decreases the recharge time of it. It'll go from 2 seconds to 4 seconds to 6 seconds, and then eventually to 8 seconds, giving this a 12-second cooldown. I feel like it should not be that short, so I might lower it down to about 1 second. Still, that would still lower it over to 16-second cooldown. So I'm going to probably say it will go to the 16-second cooldown. I think that's a bit more balanced for how powerful this ability is. Now this ability will completely change the Night Sister. No, it won't actually. This one would basically affect her Night Sister ability, her Night Sister magic. This one would just affect the recharge time as well and just slow it down to 16 seconds, being the same as that. Now if you put on the cards that changes the cooldown, that changes it, which changes the ability, this will also shorten the cooldown time of that by 4 seconds as well. The next ability is that the choke lasts longer. This would be for the same as Vader's. Now this would probably let it be able to put out just the same amount of damage that the normal Vader choke would do without any star card improvements on it. So yeah, this would, or if not more, or it might have already been more. Now the next star card will basically, and I say basically a lot in these concept videos, can't help it. So this one would just, I say just as a lot, sorry, I just can't help it. Just helps describe how everything is. So this would slightly increase the damage of the choke. This would go from 1 extra damage to 2 to 3 to 4. You know the drill. It would deal 4 extra damage. While minor, it might, you never know, it might help. Now the next card would increase her stamina, so it was at 12, wasn't it? So this would increase it to be at 15, no, to be at 13, then 14, then 15, then 16. So all her stamina values go up to 16, basically really helping her out in stamina, attacking and blocking, you know. The next one, I'm running low on ideas, so yeah, until we get to the ability card, I'm going to basically just say probably stuff that would increase which would help out on the gameplay. This one would give a damage reduction, which would be active at all times. Now this damage reduction would go from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, so she only gets 8% damage reduction at max, like Yoda, but still it would still help. The next card, this would slightly increase the lunge distance, so this would only be quite slightly, and really it's not going to be too much. I'm not going to go, it would just go from 1% to 1.5%, 1.9% to 2%, if not only by 1%, so basically 0.1, 0.5, 0.9, 0.1, I mean 1, so yeah, I think it should just be 1% though, not too crazy, and really it's not going to be that much of a deal. Now the star cards you've all been waiting for. The star card that changes her Night Sister ability. This basically gives her, you already know. So the cooldown would go from 20 seconds to 18 seconds to 16 to 14 seconds. And with the star cards that decreases the recharge time, this can get a 10-second recharge time. So let's get into her best cards, shall we? Her best cards for hero modes would be the star card that increases her health, the star cards that would increase the lightsaber, that would decrease the recharge time of the lightsaber. And the last one's morely up to you. I'd say either the damage reduction or the stamina. And really, I'd say the same loadout with this, but with the stamina for the trooper modes. That's an option though. Now, for certain situations, you'd want to replace either the stamina or damage reduction card with the card that was basically changed the Night Sister ability. Now, the reason why is because if you're fighting like against very high levels heroes and you know you're probably going to lose, this ability could really help you out. And if you have both the cards that decrease the recharge time, if you have the card that decreases the recharge time, it can go from a 10, so it can go from a 18-second cooldown to a 10-second cooldown, if not a 20-second cooldown to a 10-second cooldown, and that really can help, especially since the recharge time would be quite short. And this I would also recommend for the trooper modes. Now, if you feel like you're the Night Sister ability and you feel like you should combo it with this one, then do feel free to take off either the health cards or the recharge cards and put on the decreased recharge time on the, and then you have a 10-second cooldown ability, which you'll be able to use very often. I'm not going to go over many other emotes because I don't really know that many. Anyway, let's get into the appearances for her. Now, I am going to be probably using Han most of the time to show off the appearances, since he has 7 appearances. So her default appearance would be Sith Apprentice. This one would be the appearance that we see her in the first season, where she has skirts and the blue dress. You know what I mean. The second appearance would not be that high, it'd probably be about an uncommon, and this one would basically be the same appearance without the skirts. Her next appearance though would be called Bounty Hunter. This one would be with the helmet, and then the next one would be Sith Bounty Hunter, which would be without the helmet. The next one would be her appearance in I can't remember its name. It was in one of the books, the book where she fell in love with one of the Jedi Queen named Boss. I'm pretty sure it was Stark something, and she had the grey haircut. You probably know what I mean if you've seen it, or read it. And these would basically be the appearances I'd give to her. I feel like these appearances are pretty suited for her. I have no idea how I'm going to pull her appearance off for the thumbnail. I might end up just using Princess Leia, using one of the trying to find one of the haircuts where it would sort of be quite, where it's going to be pretty more useful. I'll probably use the Hoth appearance, but then I sort of need her to have a lightsaber, so I'd probably have to use Rey. Honestly, I don't know how I'm going to pull off the thumbnail, but if I do pull it off somehow, then you know I pulled it off. The reason why I said I was going to use Leia and then I said I wasn't, it's because she has the blaster and the animations will not really work too well. Anyway, that would be it. That's it for basically today's concept of Ventress. Next up will probably be Mace Windu, if not Jango Fett or Pre Vizsla. Still trying to think of Mace's abilities. I know one of the abilities I have planned for him. The other 2 abilities I'm not too sure of yet. And I know I'm not implementing a lot of Force abilities into Force users. it's just from what I do, it's usually, I do not know much about them. It's like Ahsoka and Ventress, so they don't have many Force abilities. I know Ahsoka basically has an unnecessary character using the Force, using the lightsaber throw and stuff like that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy this concept, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.